Hello and welcome to the D5200 channel, the channel that we hope you'll look at when you want to know some more information about the Nikon D5200. Today we're looking at the menu settings. There are 5 menu settings in total. We've had a look at the first 4 and now we're going to have a look at the retouch menu. I must admit the retouch menu always seemed to be a bit silly for me because it's obviously a lot easier to retouch on a laptop or on a large screen with some software which is designed purely to do that. But in fact, looking at the back of the camera and testing it out a bit, it's pretty good. So we'll just have an overview now and see what its options are, and then we can go into more detail with it later on. Okay, well, let's look at the retouch menu here. This is the back of the Nikon D5200, and in order to get to any of the menu settings you just press the menu button, which is at the top left hand corner of the camera. The retouch menu is the second from bottom, and in order to move from the left hand column, which is highlighted there, to the right hand and main column, you just press the right hand arrow on the multi-selector. So the retouch menu is essentially a post-shooting set of options. They are designed really to address issues that you've got with the pictures after you have taken them. And I must admit I've always been a little sceptical of trying to do post-production retouching inside the camera. I've always felt that it's much easier to do it with Photoshop or GIMP on a desktop or on a laptop. But in fact, the options here are really pretty good, and the quality of the screen, which you can see as well as I can, is really good enough to do at least basic retouching fairly competently on the back of this camera. Now, delighting is Nikon's options for addressing issues with contrast, and you can do that there. Red eye correction allows you obviously to try to correct any red eye that you may have got using flash. Trim, as it's almost obviously states, allows you to crop and trim the picture. With monochrome you can change a colour picture into a black and white, sadly not the other way around. With filter effects, that obviously gives you option for various filter effects that are inbuilt in the camera. And colour balance again allows you to balance red, green and blue colour in your picture. Image overlay allows you to merge 2 images so that you can basically, if you were doing Photoshop, move one image and overlay it onto another one, which is pretty useful and quite nifty really. And the raw processing is pretty much as it says. Oops. You can process your raw images here. People tend to shoot raw images because they have finer detail and better file sizes, so it's not something that you might want to do initially, but if you were shooting something that was very specific or you wanted to progress in your photography, you might well end up shooting raw images. Resize pretty much speaks for itself. It allows you to resize the image, and quick retouch gives you some of the basic tools that you can use pretty quickly, and it must be said not too finely, shall we say. Straighten allows you to straighten or level the horizon of a picture, or straighten people if they're slightly squiffy. Distortion control allows you to control any distortion that there may have been through the lens when you took the picture. Fisheye allows you to give the impression of shooting on a fisheye lens, so you can shoot it on a fairly basic lens, a 50mm perhaps or a 35, and then use the fisheye function to make it look as though it was shot on a 20 or 18mm. Colour outline and colour sketch are ways of taking colour out or manipulating colour within the picture. The colour outline allows you to move colour around, and the colour sketch allows you to take the colour out and make it look like it's a pencil sketch rather than a photograph. And I remember one photographer actually doing that, though manually with his prints, and then actually painting over them and giving them to people as if they were actually portraits that he painted rather than photographs that he had taken and then printed very lightly on thick paper and then painted over it like it was a painting by numbers. Perspective control is as it sounds. It can control the perspective. That's very useful if, for example, you're shooting tall buildings from the bottom, or you're shooting something with columns in, and the perspective from which you're shooting with makes it look like the columns aren't straight. Miniature effect is quite dinky. It kind of makes it look like you're taking pictures of things from a long way away and that they are very, very small. It may be something you don't particularly want to do. It's not something you'd want to do every day, I guess, but it's quite funny. Selective colour means that you can select colours and move those around, and then the bottom one, which obviously isn't an option here because we're shooting stills, is the option to edit a movie. So as you can see, there are lots of options in the retouch menu. They are actually pretty good, and they can help you to rectify certain problems and to improve your pictures as you go by. So it's worth having a look through them, and later on in a different video we'll go through many of those in more detail, but that's just a general overview for the retouch menu. So when you look at the menu options, which as I say you'll see here, you will see that there are 6 icons on the left hand side, but there are in fact only 5 menu options. The bottom one is a particularly handy one, and that is recent settings. So instead of you having to claw your way through all the menu settings to try and find white balance, or to try and find filter effects or what have you, you can actually go back to recent settings, which is the bottom icon on the left hand side, and it will show you the last 20 things that you looked at. It's just a quick way of getting around, oops, not like that though, it's just a quick way of getting around and looking at those things or reassigning those things that you have most recently dealt with. And that's a very useful little tool and a very clever shortcut that allows you to get back to those settings that you have just been changing or manipulating, and either manipulate and change them further or reset them back to what they were before.